shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to... It's me, it's BC. It's good to see everybody. It's good to be above ground. It's good to be blessed with an amazing life, an amazing wife and family. Looking forward to getting into today's discussion. If you're watching this after the fact, this was a live video, so apologies if we're not getting right to the point if you tune into this after the fact, but we're going to let people filter in, start to ask questions. As always, as I get things set up here on a live stream on my computer, I'm going to be watching the stream, looking at comments, making sure I can answer there, but also in the description of the video, I'm going to post a link to where you can actually join me on a live call, not this, an actual call where you can hear me and I can hear you, and we can talk about it, right? We can have the discussion, and the link is in the comment section now, and I'll continue to post that throughout the call if you prefer to dial in and ask me questions. Today I want to talk about your big 6 personality traits. If you're familiar with the hexacode test in general, or the content that I've produced on that, I think it's really going to be helpful, especially for those of you who follow me almost exclusively. There's about 20% of my followers who only follow me for like Myers-Briggs content, and more specifically, like that 20% only want me to talk about a very specific personality type. But one of the problems I've had with that this year is that I believe the folks that are looking specifically for that type of content, you're attempting to use personality tests in the Myers-Briggs to do something that it wasn't designed to do, right? We're all on this somewhat journey of self-discovery. We want to understand ourselves. What's up, Tony? Good to see you, brother. And in the process of doing that, we want definitive answers. We like black and white. We like things to be what they are and not to be, what some people call squishy or nuanced, right? That's what I call it. We like to have definitive answers, and unfortunately, when it comes to our personality, there's no way to just pinpoint exactly, this is who I am right now and forever. Fact of the matter is, you're a moving target in terms of being a person. So Derek Hurst is here, says, awesome stream so far. Thanks, Bryant. Thank you, Derek, for being a part. If you'd like to join me to ask me questions, I've placed a link in the description here, and I'll get Tony, one of the members of our team, to copy and paste that link every couple of minutes as comments start to flow in. Really, the purpose of this talk is to share with you your big 6 personality traits, why they're important, why I think they're even more valuable than your Myers-Briggs type. Like I said, a good number of people here follow me specifically for that type of content, and I'm okay with that. But the challenge is you're going to be really disappointed because I've stopped making Myers-Briggs content. I had a ton of it that I thought about making, but when I saw where the conversation was going, when I saw how people were using the Myers-Briggs in communication with me via email, Facebook, and even in the comments in these videos, it became very apparent that if I continue to make this content, I'm going to enable many of you, not even most of you, because I think most of you are kind of even keel with it, but there's a number of you that I would enable to continue using the Myers-Briggs to become a box that you're painting yourself into, instead of a tool you're using to better understand yourself. I mean, I get questions all the time about, yo, who should I date if I'm a fill-in-the-blank? If I'm an ISFJ, should I date a fill-in-the-blank personality type? And it's just, not to pick on anybody, but it's not a question that's going to get you to a good result, right? Tony Robbins always talks about if you ask better questions, you'd have a better life, right? Because he goes on to say that our brains, and I think many scientists would agree, our brains are survival machines. If you give it a problem, it's going to come up with a solution. But if the problem you're sending it is, I am this personality type, what personality type should I date? You're going to get an answer to that question. And quite frankly, that answer is going to come through many of the biases and the faults and the logic of our brains, and you're going to make decisions that aren't good for you. Right? I believe, and I get people, I actually had somebody on Facebook recently hit me up and say, yo, would you put a course together that we could pay you for to help 2 people in a relationship with 2 different personality types better navigate the relationship? And I said, no, I won't do that, because And it's kind of what led to my post on the community page of my YouTube channel last night, which was, if you guys for a second think that the reason why your relationship ended is because you were an N type and they were an S type, or you were a feeler and they were a thinker, it's lunacy. And it's unfortunate because there's many people on the internet who, I won't say monetarily are profiting, but they're profiting from your attention by telling you these stories almost like horoscopes. Like, if you're a Pisces, then today you should be focused on, like, toss. I mean, I don't want to tell you what to believe, but if you're basing your desire to have a successful marriage on your horoscope, as a dude who studies a lot of psychology and studies specifically relationship psychology from doctors way smarter than than I'm even capable of being. And, by the way, a dude who's put together 16 years of a happy marriage, not without its faults and problems. If you think for a second my wife and I are still together because of our Myers-Briggs type, I will tell you, at the risk of insulting you, even though it's not my intent, that you are out of your mind. You're completely out of your mind. And so I want to share with you, I want to preface it with this Myers-Briggs talk, because most of you that follow me are that person. For those of you who are watching after the fact, maybe Tony, my editor here, will find a way to chop this to turn it into like a shorter 7-minute video where I just talk specifically about what I'm going to go into next, which is your big 6 personality traits. I would rather you use these when you're making career decisions, when you're making relationship decisions, because these traits are not some fixed thing that you either are or you aren't. They are, this is where you exist today, because tomorrow you might be a different person, right? This is where you exist today, and based on where you exist today, there's probably some good changes you can make to yourself that'll make relationships. How can I help you, sir? I'm on the middle of a live call. You just wanted to say hi.
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 Bye.
We love you. That's my little guy. The results of 16 years of a happy marriage. Right? So feel free, comment, question below. I've also, again, placed the link to a Zoom call. If you would like to get on a call with me today and ask questions. The weird thing was, when I did this last time, it was like people were scared to call in. Like I was going to yell at them or something, or they were scared to talk to me. They're like, I don't know if I'm ready to do a dial-in. And I wasn't sure if it was like, you're not ready because you don't have a microphone, or you're not ready like to have a conversation with me. I don't know. I don't pretend to know what's going on in the minds of people. But the big 6, your big 6 personality traits and why they matter to you. So there's a test called the Hexaco test. It's derived from the big 5. If you follow Jordan Peterson, he uses this quite a bit. A lot of what I hear him talk about is the older version of it, but it's still very applicable. What he talks about is still very applicable. But your 6, big 6 personality traits right here. It's honesty and humility, or the H. It's emotionality, or the E. It's extroversion, or the X. It's agreeableness, or the A. It's conscientiousness, or the C. And then it's openness to new experience, or the O. Thank you, sir, for interrupting the video again. And then we're going to get a hug. It's okay. I still love you. Get off the camera with your dancing. Nobody wants to see that. And how did you get up here? Did he sneak out of the thing again?
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to film, so you guys got to go. Bye. Anyway, so once again, your big 6 personality traits are honesty and humility, the H, emotionality, the E, extroversion, the X, agreeableness, the A, conscientiousness, the C, and openness to new experience, or the O, or Hexaco. If you go to hexaco.org, you can take the test. It'll tell you what you are, where you are, right? I want to get everybody that follows me. Mindy Coy says my kids are adorable. Thank you, Mindy. I want to get everybody that follows me out of this mindset that you are just some fixed personality. It's just not true. It's just not. You know, I am not the same dude today that I was when I was 17. I have a lot of similar ideas, right? Similar disposition, but I'm not the same dude. I'd be lying if I said I was. So, honesty and humility, I think, is very simple. It means you're a truth teller, right? You are unwilling to take advantage of somebody for your own personal gain by manipulating them or being misleading or dishonest. Emotionality, I'm actually going to read it so I don't have to try to do it justice. Emotionality says persons with very high scores in emotionality scale experience fear of physical dangers, experience anxiety in response to life stresses, feel a need for emotional support from others, and feel empathy and sentimental attachments with others. By the way, I score very low in the E, or lower than the, very low compared to the average person. Right? Conversely, persons with very low scores on the scale are not deterred by the prospect of physical harm. I was a soldier, makes sense. Feel little worry even in stressful situations. Same thing. Have little need to share their concerns with others. I do that to a fault, one of them. And feel emotionally detached from others. It's pretty accurate. All right, extroversion, and I like this one because it doesn't say you're an introvert or an extrovert. It just measures how extroverted you are, and that what we call extroversion is actually slightly different than what we think it is. Extroversion is persons with very high scores in extroversion feel positively about themselves, self-esteem. That's where it starts. All right, feel confident when leading or addressing groups of people. I love public speaking. I'm also very high in extroversion. Enjoy social gatherings and interactions. That's where I kind of come down a little bit, depending on the gathering. And experience positive feelings of enthusiasm and energy. Conversely, persons who are low in extroversions consider themselves unpopular. They feel awkward when they're the center of attention. They're indifferent to social activities and feel less lively and optimistic than others do. That's a very different description than you get energized when you're around people. You get de-energized when you're around people. And neither one of those things is absolutely true, which is why Myers-Briggs bothers the crap out of me, because it's like, you're either introverted or extrovert. It's like, no, you're not. You're just not. Agreeableness versus anger, right? Anger would be the opposite of this. Persons with very high scores on the agreeableness scale forgive the wrongs that they've suffered, are lenient in judging others, are willing to compromise and cooperate with others, can easily control their temper. Conversely, people who are low in agreeableness hold grudges against those that harm them. They're critical of others' shortcomings, are stubborn in defending their point of view, and feel anger readily in response to mistreatment. That, my friends, in this humble dude's opinion, if I can say humble and not be prideful in saying that, that is the number one reason why relationships are having problems. When people come to me talking about, yo, I'm an ESFP and I'll never date one of them again, you're telling on yourself. You were telling me in those comments, and I haven't said it to anybody because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or offend them. When I read those comments from people like, I'll never date another person, I'm like, you were telling me that you have no agreeableness. And that's why your relationship failed. Now, I'm not saying it's all you. Maybe the other person was a piece of crap, okay? I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is you are showing the world that you struggle with being agreeable. And if you don't fix that, having relationships is going to be hard for you, period. Right? I know people that hope, like my wife is more inclined to hold a grudge than I am. I am one, like agreeableness, I score off the charts high in agreeableness. I'm slow to judge. I'm easy to forgive. It's how I roll. It's why I'm able to get along with people so easily, right? But for some of you, it may be different. And then, by the way, this isn't good or bad. I might be too slow to judge. Conscientiousness, persons with very high, this is the C in Hexaco. People who are high on this scale organize their time and their physical surroundings, work in a disciplined way toward their goals, strive for accuracy and perfection in their tasks. They're deliberate and careful when making decisions. Conversely, if you're low on conscientiousness, you tend to be unconcerned with orderly surroundings or schedules, avoid difficult tasks or challenging goals, satisfied with the work that contains some errors, and make decisions on impulse or with little reflection, okay? So conscientiousness, for example, is probably a better measuring stick when you're trying to figure out what your job should be, right? If you're really low on conscientiousness, first of all, you need to get it up a little bit, because being really low in that's just not good, period, right? But if you're really, really high in conscientiousness, for example, guess what? You probably make a pretty decent accountant. Probably would, because you're a stickler for details, you hate mistakes, and accuracy is paramount, right? But, you know, conscientiousness is also talking about how deliberate you are. Like, do you set big goals and willing to put in the work to go get them, right? If you don't have that, I don't care what your disposition is, right? If you're not willing to put in that work. So where you score here, though, can be a determining factor as to what you should be doing in terms of your work. If you're lower than average, you probably don't want to be an accountant, I can tell you that, right? But you should strive to increase that. And what I love about this test is these are all things that you can adjust. They're all things that you can work on to become a stronger person, a stronger version of yourself. Openness to new experience. Persons with very high scores in the O in Hexaco are openness to experience. Become absorbed in the beauty of art and nature, are inquisitive about various domains of knowledge, use their imagination freely in everyday life, and take an interest in unusual ideas or people. Conversely, people who are low in openness to experience are rather unimpressed by most works of art, feel little intellectual curiosity, avoid creative pursuits, and feel little attraction toward ideas that may seem radical or unconventional. Okay? So if you're really high in openness to experience, it's kind of telling you there art might be your jam, or some version or derivative of art, right? So I share these traits with you because I kind of want to wean you off the drug that has become horoscopes and the Myers-Briggs in this search for who am I exactly. Stop trying to figure that out. You aren't anybody exactly. One of the wisest things I ever heard a person say, it was on a Christian radio show, believe it or not. I don't know why I was listening to it, because it's not, like, Christian radio is not my thing, but for whatever reason it was on. Maybe my wife had left it on in the car. And the dude said, nobody is always anything. Such a good statement. You know, and if you're trying to pinpoint exactly who you are, you're probably on a fool's errand. Tony says, yeah, the Myers-Briggs really turned into a cult. I feel for some people. I think most people that I work with here are pretty even keel and reasonable about, you know, dealing with the Myers-Briggs, right? There's some people though that are so desperate to know who they are and why life is the way it is that the Myers-Briggs gives them an easy way out, because the storytelling people have come up with around Myers-Briggs makes it so believable. There's like, oh, that's me. And it's like, okay, yeah, but not always, right? Probably not in every situation. I even said that after I took I've taken the paid Myers-Briggs test and the free stuff, and the facilitator was telling me, I was like, I always score middle of the road with JMP. I'm right down the middle in it's situational. He's like, oh, you're actually a J. Let me show you why. And he showed me all these kind of tools where I could figure out that I was more J than P, but it really didn't matter, right? Because based on the situation, I'm going to behave like it was like he had to get me that I was one or the other. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm telling you. Because one of the things they do if you ever take a facilitated Myers-Briggs test, when they're testing the J's and the P's, they'll ask the question, they'll give you scenarios. So you're going to the beach. And when you go to the beach, do you need a schedule? Do you need a thing? And you got to be organized and packing lists. And so all those people are the J's, right? And the people are like, F it, I just want to go swim and look at women or men. They're the P's, and I'm oversimplifying it. But I'm like, hey, I'm totally the P in that situation. I'm not making a schedule to go on vacation. That's ridiculous. But if you put me on SEAL Team 6 and I'm on the Bin Laden raid, you can bet your bottom dollar every piece of equipment that I'm carrying on me has been meticulously checked and thought through to get this mission done, because it's so important and my life's on the line, right? So I just want to wean people off this idea that you're this fixed thing. And I get why you're attracted to becoming a fixed thing. It's because it gives you comfort. It's, if I know I'm this, then I know how to react to the world around me. And if there's any question or uncertainty around that, I get uncomfortable because I just want the world to make sense. Sometimes the world doesn't make sense, friends. It's time to get comfortable sleeping in that bed. Let's see. We got some comments that came through here. Oh, YouTube shanked Tony's comment here. All right, Christian Jackson says, how are you doing, Mr. Chambers? I pray and hope that you and your family have a blessed Thanksgiving. May our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ bless you all the days of your life. I received that blessing. I thank you for it, and I send it back to you. Pam Bianco says, I took the Hexaco, still trying to decipher those results. And did you read the detailed description? Did you read the detailed description that it gave you when you were analyzing the results, or are you just trying to analyze kind of the numbers? And I'm not asking that to insult your intelligence. Some people don't see that there's an entire readout that gives you when they take the test. The website's kind of confusing. Let's see. Gabby says, there's a reason MBTI has percentages. I think to be just a single type, it makes you have 100% on all scales. Which is never going to happen. So yeah, I score 98 on being extroverted on the Myers-Briggs. So I'm 2% introverted, like, you know, but there's people who will look at that and say, no, you are what you are, because, and then what they'll do is the cult will, well, the cognitive functions are the, I'm like, I got it. I've read about all the cognitive functions. I get it. I get why it makes sense. I even get why you're attracted to it. It's still not entirely accurate. And what's hilarious about the cognitive functions is basically what it tells you is you're everything, and you just have an order of preference. So anyway, I'm not trying to crap on the Myers-Briggs test, just trying to help y'all not fall into this trap of pigeonholing yourself. Conrad Keaton says, great point. Gabby says, I'm a 16-year-old ENTJ, by the way. Gabby says, I resemble, I'm assuming that's a her dad. All right. Strapping young fellow he must be. All right, so friends, link in the comments here is a link that you can click on right now and actually have a conversation with me where you'll hear my voice and I'll hear yours versus having to respond in the comment section. Now look, I get a bunch of you guys are shy, whatever, but if you have a question, I'd rather you get on the live call with me and ask it. It's much easier to respond to a person who I can talk to than it is to try to respond to comments, because in the comments are only going to let you say so much too, and usually those questions in the comments have to be oversimplified because of that. So should you have any questions, let's get into it. But for the most part, those are your big 6 personality traits. I could get into, I think I'll make it a different live stream, the facets of the personality traits. So the traits or the domains break down into 4, or in the last one's case 5 facets. So like, for example, honesty and humility measures sincerity, fairness, greed, and modesty, right? So you're going to score, if you're high in honesty and humility, you're going to have a lot of sincerity, a lot of fairness, very low greed, and a lot of modesty. Let's go to agreeableness, because relationships seems to be what you all ask me about a lot. Agreeableness measures forgiveness, gentleness, flexibility, and patience. And I would argue that the #1 facet, period, for success in anything, including a relationship, and you know, some other scientists may say I'm wrong, and maybe they're right, but I think it's flexibility. And I feel that people on this earth are way too inflexible, and that's why you run into the problems you run into. I think it was someone giving a dissertation on Darwin. It wasn't Darwin himself that said it wasn't the strongest or the smartest who survived, right? It's the most adaptable. So it's not the most conscientious, it's not the most honest and humble, right? There may be times in your life where you have to lie to survive, right? And, you know, if you come from a belief system like mine where it tells you not to lie, it's like, wait a minute, now I've got conflict, but I ain't trying to die over telling this truth or hurt my family, because you know, or you may have to just be quiet, right? So it's going to measure you on a scale. No one is 100% honest. Like, you know, I probably lie by omitting some of the severity of things that I feel. For example, when I'm talking to people, I can temper myself. When, like, I had a conversation which in my soul, I felt like having a shouting match with Verizon, but I just turned it into kind of a very direct conversation of, we were on Twitter, and I was saying, don't tell me that you value my business if you can't deliver on the thing that I'm paying you to do after 3 weeks of conversations with your administrative staff who told me they were going to fix it, right? I was like, look, I want the service. I want to pay you for it. But don't BS me in the email about, oh, we value your service. We're sorry that this keeps happening. It keeps happening because you got people on the phones that aren't getting it done. So find someone who will, right? But anyway, who has questions or who would like to join me on a live call? Again, the link is in the comment section here. You are welcome to join me. By the way, you don't have to have any special tools. You can be on your phone and just click that link and it's going to connect you to me. So it's not going to give me your phone number, any of your personal information, any of that crap. And even if it did give it to me, I wouldn't want it, because I have no desire to know those things about you. But what are your questions? What do you have for me? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about more about why I stopped making Myers-Briggs content? You have questions about that? Otherwise, if you guys ain't got anything for me, I'm going to go play with the kids. Okay, so this person's gonna have to help me pronounce their name because I'm not even. Is it Oske? Oske? If I'm saying it wrong, correct me. Hey, Mr. Chambers, what are some ways I can practice not caring about what other people think? I would love to hear your opinion. Oske, why don't you click the link here and let's have that. Let's have that in a conversation. Because I'm gonna give you a way too oversimplified answer. If you can, click this link right here and let's actually talk this out in a conversation. So if you're not familiar with what I'm doing, I'm running a YouTube live while also running a Zoom live call so that we can talk versus me read comments. Pam Bianco says, note more about PTSD in the Hexaco. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, we'll have more Hexaco content coming for sure. The Myers-Briggs stuff, I'm done with it. I feel like I've done my duty. And I've started to see some of the other stuff because, you know, YouTubers are kind of a funny bunch. They'll see something is working and then they'll all start trying to emulate it. So I've seen all these people start making Myers-Briggs content because they've seen me and a couple other people like very quickly grow a channel using it. And so they've started making ridiculous stuff. And I'm like, all right, I don't need to be associated any of this. But I guess if Oske is not going to join me on the call, I can give you a simple answer to your question. Simple answer, Oske, is how can I practice not caring what other people think? You can't. You couldn't survive if you didn't care about what other people think, right? What you were trying to figure out is what parts of what other people think should you care about, right? Maybe you're caring about things you shouldn't. Like someone thinks I'm ugly. I probably shouldn't care about that. I'm married to someone who's 40 times more beautiful than I will ever be or have ever been. So I'm cool. People call me whatever they call me. I've had people tell me, you're ugly. I actually had a girl one time tell me in college, she was like, oh, dude, because I'm not really photogenic. I look a bit different in person. This woman in college tell me, she's like, oh, wow, you're not ugly in person. I was like, wow, you're not all that polite in person. Thank you. I had a viewer walk up to me in the street in DC a couple months ago, or it was about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. And she just stopped me. She's like, she had to ask if it was me. Because I look like me, but in person I'm a little bit different, right? I think people are probably struck that I'm a little bit larger than they're assuming I am because I'm on an iPhone, so I look flat, and against my bookshelf I don't look very tall. But she had to stop and like, are you him? I was like, yeah, it's me. I mean, at first I was like, I don't know. It depends on what you're getting ready to say next. But she was very sweet. But I say that to say, I don't care. People think I'm ugly. You shouldn't care what people think you look like. But you should probably care if everyone in the world thinks you're a jerk. It's probably something you should care about. That's a signal that you probably need to change something. What else y'all got? It's been a long time since we had regular live streams. I'm considering going back to doing regular live streams with you guys. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't know how much value I'm really giving on YouTube really at all. I feel like most of the value that I'm reaching people with now is one, happening on Facebook, but two, happening like after the fact. Like I'll record a whole series of videos and then people will find them and share them. I don't know that spending a lot of time on the YouTube platform is beneficial, but you guys and ladies can tell me otherwise. If you believe differently, I'm all ears and willing to listen to it. All right, nobody else has anything? You guys are the day crew is way less talkative than the night. When I do these at night, people, I can't keep up with the comments, but during the day, you guys are very reserved. Gabby says, or Gabi if I'm saying it wrong, I think it can be worth it. I assume she's talking about you too. So Gabi says, you just have a small number of subs. Well, compared to most YouTubers, my channel is huge. But yeah, compared to PewDiePie, my channel is very tiny. I'm not worried about the benefits to me. I couldn't care less about what I get out of these calls. I'm not doing them for me. I'm looking at it more from the type of content that I produce is not really what people spend a lot of time on YouTube to consume. They find it in different ways. Like I'm working on putting a good amount of my content on Amazon, because then people would consume something like what I do more on Amazon. Like you don't see Napoleon Hill's secret master key to success on YouTube. Now that I said that, you'll probably search it and find it, but it ain't popping up in your feed is what I'm saying. Amazon has the whole series. So I'm looking at, I have an Amazon channel set up. I just haven't started transcribing the videos yet or doing that. We're probably going to do it in 2019. But all I'm saying is I have been certified by YouTube and I get how the platform works, and what I produce doesn't necessarily make sense for me to produce it at scale, because the way you all usually want to consume it, it's very segmented, one, at least when it comes to my stuff. And it's on your own time, right? Like no one's waiting with bated breath. Well, about 300 of you are waiting with bated breath every time I release a new 69 Pillars of Success, right? But the bulk of my audience just wants me to keep making overly simplified videos. Oh, no, it's not the bulk of my audience. An active piece of my audience just wants me to make more overly simplified INFP, 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 INFJ, INFJ. Am I ever going to get married if I'm an INFJ? Like, oh my Jesus, I can't do this anymore. And it's funny because I've always kind of been at odds with the audience's, it's not really the right way to say it, what I want to produce and what an audience wants to consume from me have, like, since I was a musician, my first YouTube channel, and even now, they never seem to sync up. So it's finding different avenues in order to produce the content so that it actually reaches the people who want to see it, and that the people who want to watch something else, I'm not bugging them. Let's see. Doing Computer says it's night in India. That's true. So yeah, I was speaking very narcissistically. So the day crew, from my perspective, is much more quiet than when I do this at night. Let's see. Pam Bianco says, do you work with a lot of veterans? Yes, I do. Christian Jackson says, I think the study of personality is extremely interesting. Looking throughout the Bible, one can clearly see God as multifaceted and that we are made in his image. Fair. Fair enough. It's funny, I've had people like debate me. I think I have Thomas Jefferson on the INFJ. Well, he was actually an ESFJ. Like, no, there was actually no Myers-Briggs test when he was around. So he's not any of that. I don't know why you're yelling at me about what you think. Or I think it was a Taylor Swift video and everybody was screaming about, she's not that. Like, okay. It could be wrong. And have you actually seen her Myers-Briggs results? Spend a lot of time hanging out with Taylor Swift. Like, you know who she is beyond her persona on stage. People, man. Silly. And by the way, it's a silly conversation to have anyway. And now I'm silly for talking about people talking about silly crap. Like, don't waste your time. Don't waste your energy talking about crap like that. I have to tell my kids that all the time because they'll ask just... I tell my kids there's no such thing as a stupid question, but there's questions you probably shouldn't ask because there's better questions you could ask. Like, hey, Dad, what do you hate most about Fortnite? Like, just get out of my office. Why do you care? Like, I get that you're my son and you just want to have a conversation with me, but let's have a conversation and not about Fortnite. Nanya says, none of your business says, I'm a female ENTJ married to an INFP male. Advice. Yes, take the hexacode test, which we just spent the last 20 minutes talking about, and stop trying to use the Myers-Briggs to figure out how your relationship's going to work. Be more flexible, be more agreeable, make sure that your husband is the same. Use empathy to understand each other and to behave in a way that the other person's preference would like. Make it about the other person. I am out of the business of giving advice on if I'm an ENTJ, how do I relate to an ENFP or whatever, simply because I don't think if you're having any challenges, the root of your challenge is not your Myers-Briggs type. The root of your challenge almost always comes back to, I have a way I want something done. This person has a way they want something done. And we're not figuring out how to communicate and compromise. And none of that has anything to do with your personality type, because you are in full control of your behavior despite what your default settings may be. Like when I'm working with my wife and she comes to me with a problem, regardless of what her type is, when she comes to me with a problem, she often wants me to listen and shut the F up. Not solve it, not fix it, not fix her. Just shut up and listen. And so I've learned after 16 years, I shut up and listen until she asks me to respond. Now, my default setting is she came with, I'm like a computer. She came with problem. This is solution. There, now go on your way. But that completely disregards all the emotional nuance that she's experiencing because of the problem. The problem itself is not the only thing at stake. It's her emotions. It's the way she's reacting to it. It's, I just need someone to talk to for 5 minutes so that I don't dwell on it. My brain doesn't work like that. So I have to adjust. If I want to actually help her, I have to adjust my default settings because of my personality. So my advice is just more empathy, more sympathy, more flexibility, more communication. But that advice I would give, I don't care what your Myers-Briggs is. That advice is going to be the same for every human soul. All right, what do we got? I'm going to go ahead and kill the Zoom call because it doesn't seem like any of you want to actually talk to me. You just want to write in the comments, which is cool, by the way. Not upset about it at all. I'm going to kill the Zoom call, though, because nobody is calling in. And rather than waste my phone battery, let's see, let's go ahead and end the meeting. We can just keep doing this comment thing. Matthew Gentry says, really enjoy your content, B. Thank you for what you do. Really like the 69 Pillars of Success. Move with a purpose. Glad you dug it. Did you see today's video? Today's video was pretty dope too. Let's see. Christian Jackson says, each of us reflect different aspects of God's divine character. It's like the Justice League. God created each of us to bring something to the table and complement each other. Lord Waffle says, completely side note question. How do you get your beard so damn clean? Trying to grow mine out again. I wash it, man. I got soap, water. I also cut it. So I cut my hair today. If you can't tell, I'm faded up here, right? So I trim my hair so that it looks squared away, and then I edge it up with a razor. But the beard itself, I use Dr. Bonner's soap. And then I have some moisturizer that I put in it, you know, once my beard starts to dry a little bit. And that's it, man. That's how I get it done. Let's see. Kimberly Roberts says, Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly. Gabby says, I want, but I can't. I'm not sure what she wants. Kimberly Roberts says, how? Matthew Gentry says, what is Zoom? It's like Skype, but it doesn't suck. Lord Waffle says, I think most people are too focused on getting and taking in relationships instead of giving. Well, and the reason why is because they're not squared away, right? We become way more generous when we have our selfish needs met. The problem is we try to get our mate to meet emotional needs that they're not capable of meeting. Those are things we have to settle for ourselves. Like we talked about the Hexaco test. One of the, like if you're extremely introverted, meaning you're low on extroversion, you're probably low in self-esteem, right? If you're really low. If you're struggling with some level of self-esteem, you may be wanting someone else, if you're codependent, to come into the relationship and give you that sense of, oh, you're beautiful. But no matter how beautiful my wife tells me I am, if I don't believe it, and I do, it's just not going to help. And so we want to take from this person, but we're trying to take things that we can't get from them. There are things that we have to get from ourselves. And depending on your belief system, there are things we have to get from our faith, right? Things from our faith in God or whatever the thing is you believe in. And we're trying to get it from a relationship, but it's just not designed to do that. Like when I heard a really smart person say the purpose of relationships is not your happiness. The purpose of relationships is to make life better for the both of you because you are together. Right? And then a byproduct of that is happiness. But if you're chasing happiness through the relationship, good luck with that. See, Matthew Gentry says, I'm not seeing today's video yet. But the point there, Tony, is when you're squared away, you become way more generous. I'm telling you, the billionaires I know, way more kind and compassionate and generous. Matter of fact, the one I used to work for, when I had my first child, dude had hundreds of dollars sent to me immediately. Like, here we go. And he didn't have to give me jack. He was already paying me. It was like, here's more money for you. Just because you had a kid. Here's not a bonus, not a you did something great for the business. And keep in mind, this dude has, God only knows, probably 1,000 employees or more. You know, if you include contractors and all this other stuff. Like, he didn't have to send me jack, but he sent me cash, son, to take care of my kid. Millionaires, on the other hand, some of the millionaires I know are just douchebags. Complete and utter. I would not spend half a second with this person if I didn't have to be in this business meeting or whatever the thing is, right? So, yeah, when the more squared away you are, just there's this strange correlation between that and you're more giving. Like, look at what Bill Gates has been up to. Tony says, I meant clean as in dope. It's genetics, homie. I line it up and I, you know, cut it, but the reason why my beard is so dope is just because it's genetics. Gabi says, oh God, Hexaco just crashed. Okay. Kimberly Roberts says, I become so extremely focused on justice and fairness and can get obsessed or stuck, thinking about it all the time, trying to figure it out. Okay. Pam says, I'm a member of Wounded. There we go. We're back. So the question was, have I done any work with female vets? Absolutely. I actually teach a combat trauma recovery course with a few co-leaders, one of which is a vet, another of which is a professional counselor. And we teach it every week for 12 weeks, and then we take a break. And then, so yeah, absolutely, I work with female vets. Bruno Fernandez says, have you ever noticed the correlation between INFP videos being the more popular in your channel with the search of fitting in or need of understanding of INFP? Yeah, I mean, I knew INFPs were going to blow before I ever made the videos. That's why I made the first ones to test it out. One, I wanted to help people. Two, I wanted to test my hypothesis. I had done a lot of research prior to making those videos to figure out, I pretty much know INFJs and INFPs are going to be the most active people. And part of that, too, is a testament to the Myers-Briggs, because it talks about how the Apollon temperament, you know, and Dr. Jung really focused more on temperaments than types. The NF temperament is just on this eternal quest of self-discovery. So, wasn't surprised at all. Cool. Linda says, hi, just got in. What are you talking about? I am talking about your big 6 personality traits. And after this video is done, it'll render and you can go back and watch me talk about them if you're interested. But generically, we're talking about the Hexaco personality test, which I recommend everybody take, kind of to wean yourself off of. For those of you who may be obsessed with Myers-Briggs stuff, I definitely recommend other tests so you can get a more broad perspective. Nunzio says, hello from Italy. Hello, Nunzio. It's good to see you. There's no reason why my connection should be tripping. I have the most powerful internet on the planet here in my office. I don't know, it must be a YouTube thing, because everything else is killing it. Cool, okay. Any last questions before I go hang out with my kids? I'll wait another 30 seconds because I know the feed is, you know, what I'm saying is about 30 seconds behind what you guys are hearing. 30 seconds ahead of what you guys and ladies are hearing. Wath, do you like to Italy? I don't understand the question. Can you rephrase it? Also, I don't know if you all follow me. Who here, just put I in the comment section for my lurkers too. Who here follows me on Facebook? Let me ask you guys some questions. And to make it more specific, who here follows me on Facebook and Instagram? And I'll just wait for it to come in. Tony says, of course Tony does. He works here. Matthew Gentry. Okay, who else? Jimmy Reagan says, I know Instagram. Kimberly Roberts says, I didn't really ask a question about that, but I'm wanting to know how to work my way around that idea of justice and fairness and how things should be in my world to be able to live in this world. Well, you got to figure out where the middle ground is, right? Like, you can think things are supposed to be a certain way all you want, but if the reality is they're not that way, you can either drive yourself completely insane by trying to force the world to become the way you think it should be, or your key to freedom, as we talk about in, I think, the 4th video in the 69 Pillars of Success, is acceptance is the key to your freedom. You know, and part of some of the problems we face, overcoming them, is just accepting that the problem is before we can overcome it. Kimberly says, I don't follow on Facebook, only on YouTube. Okay, that's cool. So you guys that don't follow me on Facebook have been greatly missing out on something I'll talk about here in a second once I verified that the video is actually working. Let me refresh my page. Okay, let's get back to the bottom of the questions. Do you have a morning routine? I know Tony Robbins has one, but it's a bit too long-winded in my opinion. Yeah, wake up, pray, meditate, work out, study, work, schedule meetings, work some more, also help my kids get to school is part of the morning. You said morning routine, not whole day. Yeah, wake up, brush teeth, pray, meditate, work out, eat, get kids to school. And then the end of my morning routine going into the day is, it's my study time. So I'm reading books. I may be doing a biblical study. I may be doing a book that all of you should read, like this one here called Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. It's kind of it, man. I keep it simple. So yeah, those of you who don't follow me on Facebook have not seen a post that's been exploding about a program I'm calling the 300. So for some time now, I've been looking for a way to give everyone that follows me more direct, not just contact with me, but more direct and tailored guidance to the questions that you have. Because you could come on a YouTube video and ask me a question, and I can give you a 30-second to 2-minute answer, but it's really not going to be tailored to your very specific problems or your challenge that you're trying to overcome. It's just not tailored. A lot of the advice is going to be generic because you can only fit so many words into your question. So I came up with a program where I meet with a small kind of band of brothers and sisters, and I keep it very small. That's why I call it the 300, because we will never get bigger than 300, at least this iteration of it, where I can do more direct coaching. So instead of coming on a YouTube live, you would actually come on a call with me. I would have whatever the lesson for that day is, whatever the knowledge session is for that particular meeting, and then we'd have time. I usually leave at least an hour for questions and answers. And so people can come to me with very specific questions centered around goals that I'm helping you achieve. I've always wanted a way to do that. Some of that kind of came out as the academy that I used to run for social media. Some of it came out, I had a relationship kind of coaching online program that nobody knows about because I only ran it for a short time and realized it wasn't going to work, so I shut it down. But this 300 program is something that has been exploding on Facebook. I mean, people, and literally people all over the world, like most of the people that are hitting me up are not even American. That's how much it's blowing up. Like, Americans are too busy worrying about Game of Thrones marathons sometimes, because we have it too good. But these people all over the world, like, yo, I'm in. How do I make these calls? How do I, like, this is what I want for my life. And so I created the 300, and we've been steadily growing it. And like I said, if you're not following me on Facebook, you haven't heard about it, because I don't really talk about it here on YouTube. But it's something that if you really are serious, and that's why I'm keeping it small. One, because I want to be able to help everybody in the group, right? So you don't just have to watch like a video I filmed. We can have a conversation. And like managing people's conversations in our Facebook group or over email doesn't overwhelm me, so that I can give you the most value. Like, if you're just vehemently serious about getting command of your life and living whatever this dream is that you have, you're going to need people with the roadmap. And I say people because a huge part of our program is the community of people, not just me, right? And if you are serious about that, not just you think my videos are kind of cute, right? Like, it's, oh, I like his INFP videos. That was nice. Like, you are sick of whatever thing is going on in your life right now that you're trying to get away from, or you're trying to get more of something good. Or like me, you feel that you have a moral obligation to live a life that means something, to pay it forward to the people who gave me this life and in some cases died for me to have it. If that's you, then the 300 is something you and I need to talk about, and we'll get back to it here at the end of this call. I'll give you some more information about it if you don't follow me on Facebook. I at least wanted to mention it here. For those, and like I said, it's only for those of you who are serious. If you're the person who's, oh, I don't have a Facebook account, then it's not for you right now. Sorry, it's just, that's where we do a lot of our business at present. Maybe that'll evolve over time. But if you're the, oh, I don't have a Facebook account person, then right now it's just not for you. But yeah, just think about that for a minute, because I am building, you know, it was funny. An old friend of mine and I got together last week, and it was actually, no, I'm sorry, it was this week. Jesus, this week has been very long. We were just talking about when we were in our 20s, and he went on to be a church pastor, I went on to be a soldier, and we were just saying how we wanted to change the world and how things have been playing out. And he says, what is it like being a civilian? Do you get any of that same camaraderie that you had as a soldier? I said, no. I said, that's why I created my 300 program, because I wanted to build it. I wanted to build a small band of brothers and sisters who have that level of love and camaraderie and companionship with each other, to help all of us actually not like talk about our dreams. Like, at the very least, you are going to have somebody in me that's not going to let you make excuses for not achieving your dreams. Like, if you don't get them, it's because you didn't work, right? Right? Like, I have someone in the program right now who is deathly afraid of their dream. And I'm like, well, which one are you more afraid of? The getting rejected on the way to your dream, which, by the way, that's the price of it. You're welcome. Or you still being in this program in 20 years and we're still having the same conversation. When I said that to them, they were like, holy crap. I'm way more scared of the second one. I said, good, then your mind's in the right place. Get busy. Get to work, right? That's the type of, you know, people call it tough love. I just call it love, man. It's, you know, I have a love for people that I want to help you win. And that's part of the groove. So more on that in a minute. Let's get to these last questions and we're going to wrap up. Lawa D says, most eye-opening book that you have read recently? Probably The 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson's a beast, man. Love that dude. I'd say that's probably the most eye-opening book I've read recently. And I got it for like 30% off because it just happened to be in Target when I was there one night. Elizabeth Pearson says, how do you balance work with spending quality time with your kids? I don't balance. I do what's called counterbalancing, which is in the book The One Thing by Gary Keller, which I highly recommend, which is also a part of my 52 book challenge if you were in that. And counterbalancing is we've bought into this lie that in the 16 hours that we spend awake, we can somehow balance work and play and life with family, and you can't a lot of times. Sometimes I've got to go all in with work. And I'll see my kids. I'll be home to, say good night, or I might be in my office all day and I can't hang out with you, right? But then there's times where, like Tony was asking about my morning routine, the one I gave him was my weekday routine. If you look at my weekend routine, like my business schedule is empty. That's when I'm taking my kids to the farm. That's when I got basketball practice with my kids. So rather than try to go on this fool's errand of balancing my life, which is another thing we talk about in the 300 program, it's called the Good Life Playbook VIP program, but we're calling it the 300. I don't teach people to try to balance, because a lot of times you can't. Like if you're working 12 to some, I've worked 18 hours a day in some cases. I'm not getting much time with my kids that night. And part of your challenge is probably stop beating yourself up because of that. Counterbalance. Go all in when you need to be all in work. And then on a day where you don't have a whole lot of work, go all in family. This American, like, I swear marketing companies have been killing us for the last, since marketing companies have existed, because they've coerced us into believing these lies about ourselves, that women are ugly unless you use our product. Like, you'd be kidding me. Like, my wife is freaking amazingly gorgeous with like no makeup. She doesn't even have to take a shower, right? But marketing companies don't want her to believe that. They want her to believe she needs Nivea face moisturizer and all this other BS, right? You know, or insurance and healthcare companies sell you or Walmart. I've seen Walmart do this. Play oh, well, you're a choosy mom, you should care about this. Like, sometimes you can't balance it. Sometimes it has to be counterbalanced. And you can't feel guilty because you went 4 days and didn't get a lot of time with your husband or your kids or whatever you mean by family. Just get in the time when you can. And when you can get in the family time, go all in there. And then, yeah, there's some days that are balanced. Like today is a balanced day. I woke up, most of my time today has been with my kids. Because my wife is, she's out of town at her father's, getting her father ready for burial. Her father passed away, right? So my wife's not here, so now me and my mother-in-law have the duty. So I got up with the kids in the morning, got them ready for school, fed them, dressed them, hung out with them. I didn't really do much work. And then my wife called. She had some errands she needed me to run, so I went and did that. So I didn't get much work done today. And I'm not upset about it. You know, now I'm hanging out with you great people, which I don't really consider this work. This is just me kind of giving back to cool people. So that's my very long answer to a very simple question. Quality time with your kids. Or you did mention kids. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. In other words, don't try to balance it. Prioritize and execute. You're probably doing too much. I am very guilty of that. It's part of the reason why I was in the hospital. It's because my doctor said, you're just doing too much, dude. You have to slow down. You're not 24 anymore. You got to slow it down. And just pick your thing that matters. And I highly recommend the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, because it'll explain it in a lot more detail than I am here. Oske says, I am sorry I'm in a hurry and can't reply, but thank you for answering. No worries. Jay says, what were the names of the last two books you mentioned again? One of them was the 12 Rules for Life. Oh, I can show you one of them. 12 Rules for Life. An Antidote to Chaos by Jordan Peterson. And the other one was The One Thing by Gary Keller. Okay. Last questions, because I'm out of here. Get your last questions in. Anyway, if you're interested in the 300 program, you need to get in touch with me ASAP. You got a couple of ways you can do that. You can message me here on YouTube. YouTube kind of sucks for that, but I will respond to it. You can email me. The best way to get at me is to send me a message, is to go to my Facebook fan page and send me a direct message there. Say, yo, I'm interested, or comment on the post where we talk about the 300. Like I said, if you're I don't have Facebook person because of whatever reason, right now it's just not for you. Not because I have some bias toward Facebook. I couldn't care less. If Facebook could burn down tomorrow and I'll find another platform. The point there is we do a lot of our engagement on Facebook currently. So anyway, if that's something that you're interested in, I would definitely get in touch with me ASAP. And the other thing too is I just told the people on Facebook, we're raising the price today. So the price of the 300, because there's a monthly fee associated with it, it's going up. And it's going to continue to go up, especially in 2019. We're going to raise it to where the price is fair. Right now, it's totally unfair for me, and that's because I wanted to give back. And even when I still raise it to the fair price, it's still going to be 1,000% cheaper than most of the crap that you can get out there where people are going to charge you money to teach you stuff that you could have just Googled, right? It's why I give 90% of my content away for free. And actually, I give 100% of my content away for free. But like personalized, we're going to work in a small group, and I'm going to walk you through personally some things. I think it's fair for us to exchange some resources for that, right? But all the, classes, I can teach you that for free because you can Google it just like I did, or you can work at it for 15 years and figure it out, or you can just go to my course and do it for free. All right, here's the last questions. Hearsay, what's your recommendation on good books for INFPs? The same books everybody should read. Good book is a good book. It doesn't matter what your personality type is. Elizabeth Pearson says, help a super shy ISFJ make some friends. All right, so let's take ISFJ off the table. Let's just remove that because the word you used was shy. And that has very little to do with your Myers-Briggs type because shyness is probably tied to self-esteem to a degree, which if you took the Hexaco test, I imagine you score a little bit lower on what's called extroversion. The Big Six personality test has a different way of looking at this introvert-extrovert thing, right? It's not just about where you draw energy, it's about your disposition. So I would imagine that self-esteem, like being in a crowd or being around a group of people, kind of makes you a little awkward or uncomfortable. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how you're wired. There's certain situations in life where that's a good thing. The deal for you is you need to spend time in places where people who share your values and who do the things or care about the things you care about hang out. You need to go on Meetup and figure out where that is. Like when I'll give you an example for me. When I go to like Chamber of Commerce meetings, I'm around a bunch of other entrepreneurs. That's my people, yo. Like we jam. When I'm in that room, it's an immediate, we link up and we jam. And no matter how shy I may be, you cannot stay shy long when you're around other people who care about the things and have the same disposition. If I get around a lot of neurotic people or kind of like fearful, fretty people, I'm like, ugh, they just exhaust me, right? So you want to get around people who care about the stuff you care about. Like if you care about feeding the homeless, go find a group that's doing that and go hang out with them. And then you'll become friends. Friends is about spending time with people. Friendship's born over time. So you just need to be in a place where people are doing and caring about the things you care about, because they're going to be very easy people for you to get along with because you share similar values and outlooks and things that you care about. So that's my advice. I don't think you being an ISFJ is going to change that. I would give that advice to any personality type. So that said, friends, I'm out. It's been real. I love you all very much as always. You can leave me some comments, send me a personal message. Let me know what you think about doing these live streams. I've done them a lot less and less over recent months just because I've been working on other stuff in the business. But I had also slowed down on them just because I felt like I wasn't adding value the way that I'm able to add value on Facebook. There's things I'm able to do on Facebook that YouTube doesn't really allow me to do, that to me allow me to add more value very quickly than doing a live stream and hoping I'm able to actually reach you all at a time where you're available. So anyway, if you're interested in the 300, you need to get at me ASAP. If you send me a message today and you're interested, we can hold you a slot at the current price. I wouldn't do that too. It won't raise the price on you. But I get yelled at every time. So, like, I've literally had, 4 recent customers like, that's all it costs? Like, all right, that's a sign. Time to raise the price. Anyway, you're beautiful people. Don't ever forget that. Don't let anyone ever tell you different. I love you much. As always, we are stronger than I. I'll see you on the next one.